Good morning, everybody, and welcome to week 6 of online learning. This week, we are going to continue our social studies and learnings by looking at Texas's economy. So our first kind of joke or meme is coffee at NASA, and if you'll notice, the little latte art here is in the shape of a space shuttle, which is pretty cool. So we are going to look at the economy of Texas. So basically what that means is just the different industries or the different parts of Texas's livelihood that allow people to work and make money and all of that. So our job today, the TEAC is 4.12.A. The student understands patterns of work and economic activities in Texas. The student is expected to explain how people in different regions of Texas earn their living, past and present, through a subsistence economy and providing goods and services. So, your objective today, the learner will identify the 4 main economic industries in Texas where people earn their money. So, our first industry is the petrochemical industry. But before we get into that, let's give you an overview of Texas's economy. So today, Texas has a very strong economy. Economic regions have developed as a result of patterns of human activity. These include cities such as Austin and Dallas, which have become economic centers of high technology. An economic region has also developed around the oil and gas industry in the Great Plains and Central Plains. So, let's talk about the petrochemical industry. Our state, so Texas, is the leading producer of oil in the United States, and Texas also produces nearly 30% of the natural gas in our country. Both oil and gas are limited resources that have been good to the economic development of Texas. Today, Texas oil and gas are purchased to meet the needs of Texas, the United States, and the world. Texas had so much oil and gas, oil companies built refineries in Texas as well. Businesses also built factories that use gas and oil to make plastics, fertilizer, chemicals, and fabrics. These products and many others, as well as gas and oil, are used by people around the world. They fuel cars, heat homes, and provide products that people need. These industries, refineries, and factories form the petrochemical industry. Many Texans found good-paying jobs, such as project or structural engineers. This helped Texas's economy to grow. Now, the oil boom of the 1970s also attracted new people to Texas. Some came from northern states where steel mills and auto plants were closing down. Others came from countries such as South Korea, Pakistan, India, El Salvador, and Guatemala. The face of Texas was changing. Oil and gas has also helped education in Texas. Some oil and gas wells are on state-owned land. Money from these wells goes into a special fund, and every year this helps pay for schools and universities in Texas. Also, some Texas oil millionaires became philanthropists. Philanthropists give away money to help other people. In Texas, philanthropists gave money to build hospitals, museums, and universities. Now, during the 1980s, the United States suffered a recession. A recession is just a period of reduced economic activity. Demand and prices for Texas oil and gas fell. So many workers in the Texas petrochemical industry lost their jobs. But by the 1990s, the United States economy was growing again. Texas's petrochemical industry was an important part of Texas's economy. Even so, leaders in Texas had a new goal for the state. They decided to attract new industries for the state. So, July 20th, 1969 was a day to remember. The tiny spacecraft Eagle was approaching the moon. Years of scientific innovation had made the trip possible. Astronaut Neil Armstrong was on board. When the Eagle touched down, Armstrong announced, "Houston, tranquility base here. The Eagle has landed." Today, Mission Control is part of the Johnson Space Center, which is in Houston, Texas. Named in honor of President Lyndon B. Johnson, it is the center of operations for our country's activities on the International Space Station. Scientific discoveries and innovations in the aerospace industry have benefited Texas by bringing many jobs to the state. The Johnson Space Center is part of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA. This group runs the United States space program and trains astronauts. The Johnson Space Center is part of Texas's aerospace industry. This industry builds and operates aircraft, spacecraft, and satellites. It's an important part of Texas's economy. Aerospace employs scientists, engineers, and other specialists. One of those specialists was Texas biologist Dr. Millie Hughes Fulford. In 1991, she flew for 9 days in a NASA craft called Space Lab. During that time, she completed 18 important scientific experiments. Her scientific contributions to the aerospace industry have helped astronauts stay in space longer. Now, let's look at our third industry, technology. So far, we have petrochemical, aerospace, and high technology. Petrochemical, aerospace, and now high technology is our third. So, scientific discoveries in technology have benefited Texas too. The microchip created a huge industry. Smaller than a fingernail, a microchip is the brain of a computer. Computers soon got smaller, more powerful, and less expensive. Individuals and businesses all over the world began to use computers. Now, the rise of computers made the high technology, or high-tech, industry possible. Technology is the use of scientific knowledge, skills, and tools to help people meet their needs. Since the 1980s, many companies in Texas have specialized in high technology. Today, many high-tech companies have offices in Austin and Dallas. Some specialize in building computers. Others make software or special programs that tell computers what to do. These companies provide many jobs and have also helped cities grow. Computers and software from Texas are sold all over the world. These technological developments in communication have resulted in a faster way to work, the growth of businesses, and increased profit. They have also benefited individuals and businesses in Texas by allowing them to keep in touch with businesses and people in other parts of Texas, the United States, and the world. As a result, the world is more interdependent. That means that people and businesses in Texas and all over the world depend on each other to get their jobs done. Okay, so we have our petrochemical industry, aerospace, and technology. And now to our fourth one, the farming industry. In 1945, Texas had about 385,000 farms. But in 2010, there were 240,000 farms. That's because today's farms are larger than ever, with the average farm in Texas about 527 acres, and many are much larger. New inventions, scientific discoveries, and technologies helped farms grow. For example, farmers bought larger and better machinery to plant and harvest more land. Universities taught scientific farming methods. Farmers began to use pesticides. Pesticides are chemicals that kill the pests that damage crops. These changes made agriculture more productive than ever. More productive farms meant that many new jobs in Texas. These jobs, like food processing, depended on a strong agricultural industry. The manufacturing industry in Texas is also changing. So, we had our four. We had the petrochemical industry, the aerospace industry, the technology industry, and the farming industry. Now, three other noteworthy industries: manufacturing, energy, and service industry. So let's talk a little bit about those. The manufacturing industry in Texas is also changing. Texas factories have long made automobiles and oil field equipment. They've processed food and milled lumber. Today, however, Texas manufactures many new products. These products result from recent advances in science and engineering. Texas now manufactures computer equipment, satellites, and aircraft. High-tech manufacturing provides many opportunities in Texas. In all regions of Texas, there are people who earn their living through providing services. Hospitals, schools, and repair shops are examples of service industries. Many Texans work in the service industry, about 1 out of every 5 Texans. And last, the energy industry. The energy industry has modified the environment in Texas through energy production. The positive impact is jobs, that there are a lot of jobs that Texans are able to have. However, there are also negative impacts to the environment. For an example, in 2010, an oil rig in the Gulf of New Mexico exploded. Nearly 5 million barrels of oil spilled into the water. The pollution missed most of Texas, but nearby states were not so lucky. As our state grows, we must be especially thoughtful about protecting our environment. Many of Texas's petrochemical plants are on or near the Gulf Coast. Pollution from them damages the habitats of bird and fish. Some Texas species are in danger of dying out. Pollution also dirties our air and water. This has had an impact on our health. Now, Texans want a strong economy. That means industries need to grow. But Texans also want a safe and clean environment. To meet these economic and environmental goals, industries and citizens must work together. So, let's recap. Our 4 main industries: petrochemical industry means our oil and gas industry. Our aerospace industry, which includes aircrafts, spacecrafts, specifically, and most especially NASA down in Houston. And then we have our technology industry centered in Austin and Dallas. And then we have our farming industry, which is East and West Texas. So make sure that you complete your MOL in the lesson, and then go to your assignment, which is Achieve 3000. It'll be under Social Studies, and the lesson is The Doctor Everyone Knows. So, review the 4 vocabulary words: century, commitment, lecture, and rural. And then talk about the before reading poll. What would mean the most to you between helping people, winning awards, and having a job that you love? Explain why you voted the way that you did. Then you complete stop and jots, your after reading poll, and the math activity. And optionally, you can do the stretch article and activity and the thought question. Then, for your extension activity, you're going to do research on a possible career in any of the 4 industries we talked about in our lesson. So, petrochemical, aerospace, technology, and farming. There is more information found in the Economy of Texas Extension Activity, which is a document that you can find on Google Classroom, and make sure to submit in Google Classroom if you are able. So, the objective today was for you guys to identify the 4 main economic industries in Texas where people earn their money, and that's what we did. We talked about the petrochemical industry of oil and gas, the aerospace industry with aircraft and spacecraft, and then we talked about the farming and technology industries. I will see you guys next time. Keep working hard.